Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. So in today's video, it's going to be all about natural tanks. I want to go over what exactly is a natural tank. Is one even achievable? Two, how do you set one up? As you can see, I have an empty 20-gallon tank behind me, and I'm going to set it up and I'm going to go over step by step each component within one of these aquariums and explain, in my opinion, really how important they are and how they work within that natural ecosystem. So stick around. Before we get started setting up this tank, there's a few questions we should go over. First is, what exactly is a natural tank? And is one really attainable within our aquarium hobby? Now, if you go on Google or look in a dictionary and see what is the definition of natural, it is existing in or caused by nature, not to be caused or created by humankind. So if that is the case, is one truly attainable within the aquarium hobby? Can you make an actual completely natural aquarium within the aquarium hobby? I would have to say probably 99% of us, that answer would be no. Not 100%, but I'll get to that. Now, if you look at someone like LRB and LRB Aquatics, some of the things he does outside with his aqua garden and aquariums outside, those are probably the closest as what someone could probably get to be an actual natural aquarium, using every component from the sunlight is your light all the way down. But the thing of it is, within this hobby, and in my opinion, is we're trying to create ones that are as close to natural as one can humanly get, and to try to make it as natural looking. At least those are my goals within this hobby with these natural aquariums. And everyone can have their own thoughts or insights or opinions on it, but that's mine and that's what I go for, and that's the meaning to me. So with that, let's start setting this up, like I said, component by component, and I'll explain a little bit about each component and explain what role they play within these natural ecosystems that we set up. Well, substrate is that first component we're going to talk about, and in my opinion, it's one of the most important components within the natural aquarium. Now, what type of substrate can you use? Maybe the question you're asking. I personally love dirted substrates. I love dirted tanks. If you're not familiar with my channel, just about every tank within my fish room is dirted. I find them to be very beneficial, not only for the plants, but also for maintaining your aquariums. But can you use something other than a dirted substrate to be able to be considered a natural aquarium? And that answer is yes, absolutely. You can use any substrate you would like that comes from the earth, whether it be sand or gravel or rocks, all of it. All of it can be used and be just as successful as you use with a dirted substrate. Now, the only tips I personally would give would be still make sure that your substrate is thicker. Now, with a dirted substrate, you get that 1 inch typically of soil and at least 2 inches of sand. You can go more, but I would personally, if you're doing sand or gravel, I would go at least 3 or 4 inches of substrate. Now, the reason for that being is the purpose of the substrate. What does that substrate do for your aquarium? Well, it not only houses your plants and anchors them down, but it also feeds them. And by feeding them, it is pulling the nutrients from the water column that eventually gets broken down through that substrate and feed the roots of your plants. And by having a thicker substrate, you're creating denitrifying bacteria within there, which in turn eat your nitrates, eats those nitrogen processes within your aquarium, and helps keep your nitrates low and helps maintain your aquarium so you don't got to keep your hands in there as often. So that is a huge benefit of having a deeper substrate, in my opinion, and why I believe substrate is one of the most important components within an aquarium. So if we're looking for rocks or wood or whatever hardscape we want for our aquariums, this is probably one of the most fun parts of setting up one of these natural aquariums, is to be able to get outside in nature, step back into nature, take a walk down by a local beach or a local lake or river or woods. Look for things within those trails or beaches that you're walking. Look for rocks. Look for pieces of driftwood or wood that you can bring back and add to your aquariums. One, it's very cool because it cuts costs out of the budget. Even if money isn't an issue, it's fun just to be able to find some of these components that you can put in your aquarium, and it tells a story. A story, if you have people over or people looking at your aquarium, you can say, I got that piece of wood at this beach or this lake or this rock here or there. It adds to the story. It adds to the attraction of these aquariums. So with that, I have these pieces of wood that I got from my brother-in-law. Now, my brother-in-law is also a paid member of my channel, Ron Strickland Jr., which I'm giving you a shout out now, my brother-in-law here. He got me this wood from a vacation he was on when he was in Michigan with his family. These are roots from an olive tree. So the story he told me is that where he got them from, when olive tree dies, and they're originally from Italy, when they die, they have to dig these roots up from the ground because they're invasive. And then he bought them from someone that got them from Italy. And I thought they were very cool. So I boiled the schmaltz out of them, and I've had them out in my summer tub pond for the last few days. And they're great, and I'm going to use them in here. But that's the point. Get outside. Go find things that like this that are going to show a story within your aquarium. But not only that, they will make everything look natural. It'll look like a slice of some river or lake, bottom of a river or lake within your aquarium. And that's the whole beauty of these natural aquariums. You want them to look like you're at the bottom of a lake or a river, sitting there staring at that, and that's just taking a picture. And that's what you're going to do. So with that, let me try to figure out where I want to put these in here. All right, so I think I found the spot for it. I really like this wood and the little caves and caverns of the hollowness that it has. Then I added a few little rocks in there, like as you can see. I'm not sure if that's 100% placed where I'm going to keep them yet, so I still got to put plants in there, which will be the next component. But first, what if you have artificial wood or some resin wood or artificial hardscape within your aquariums? Would you still be able to consider that a natural aquarium? Really, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I know that is a quote from someone from a long time ago, but to me, I don't like them. I don't like fake wood and fake stuff like that. To me, I don't consider that a natural aquarium, but if you consider it one, more power to you. So the next component is plants, and I'm talking live plants. Now that's probably the most important component to have in your aquarium if you want it to be considered a natural aquarium. They play a huge role within the process of this aquarium. You know, they'll be in here sucking all the nutrients out of that water column, and it helps with an entire cycle of this aquarium. Not only will the fish that'll be in here will drop waste and everything organically in here that will break down through the substrate, and that substrate will be fed off of that, and they will also feed the roots of your plants. So those plants can continue to grow and release oxygen, and then they will continue to eat those nutrients out of that water column, and it becomes that cycle, the cycle of life in one of these natural ecosystems. So live plants are crucial when it comes to one of these type of aquariums. So what type of live plants do you want to put in there? Well, that's entirely up to you, entirely up to your taste, entirely up to what the look of your aquarium or whatever you like. For me, for this one, I have an idea. Now, I'm getting all my plants that I get clippings from all my aquariums, but you can get them from the wild as well. Just make sure you check with your local DNRs or authorities to make sure that it is legal to be able to take plants out of the wild from where you're getting them. But that is another way to be able to do it too. But like I said, I'm going to be taking them from my aquarium, my other aquariums here in my fish room. I want to put a bunch of crypts in here, but with these dirty tanks, it's a smart thing to put a lot of stem plants in there as well, because they are going to be the heavy water column feeders. They are going to suck a lot of those nutrients out of there, especially in the beginning stages of one of these dirted aquariums. Well, let me give you a quick rundown of what I did in this aquarium. And I put lots of cryptocorn in here like I wanted to, and like I mentioned before, and I put lots of Ludwigia. And like I said, those stem plants are very important for starting up a dirted tank, and I just love Ludwigia to begin with. I love the contrast between the reds that it gets as it gets higher up with the higher light, and then the greens at the bottom. I put a little bit of moneywort in here. I have a little bit of Java moss as well on top of that piece of wood, which I hope will kind of take over. And I'm really looking forward to this filling in and seeing what it turns out to be. I may add some dorsage in here eventually. I'm not 100% sure on it because it always runs up towards the front, which gets annoying maintaining, but I really do love the look of it. So we'll see, but this is it for now. So now that we got the tank set up, we have the hardscape, we have the substrate, we have the live plants, we have this complete cycle. What are some other components we need to talk about? One is going to be the food web, if that's something that you're interested in. I have that in quite a few of my aquariums down here in my fish room. I don't have it in every single one, but they are highly beneficial. I have videos out on that. Father Fish obviously has plenty of them as well. It's adding leaf litter, having a handful of gunk from the bottom of a river or lake, and then you watch and observe it. And what you're doing is collecting all those microorganisms that are within that little handful that collect within that little debris of organic matter that you get. You watch that for 30 days and make sure you have no harmful parasites within that little jar. And then what you want to do is you add some of that to your aquarium. You put that leaf litter at the bottom. Now, the purpose of that is twofold. One, obviously, it can be a food source, but it's not a food source for most fish. It'll be mostly for fry, but it's really not even the main part of it. I know it's called food web, but it can be deceiving. People think it's a food web just for your fish, but it's really a food web. It's food for your entire aquarium. So what that does is those microorganisms that are at the bottom of your aquarium that you put in there, they're going to eat that leaf litter, but they're also going to eat the waste and the fish poop and other organic matter within your aquarium, and they will break it down so fine that it starts to work its way down in the substrate. So we get back to that cycle I was talking about earlier. It just helps with that. It's a very big benefit from it. But it also has health factors when it comes to these types of aquariums, or really any aquarium for that matter. If you set up a pristine tank that has no bacteria in it besides the fish you put in there, any little disease like ick can have a major outbreak. But if you have multiple different types of bacteria and organisms and stuff like that within your aquarium, that one little virus of ick may not be able to take over as well. It's the same thing as an immune system, if you want to look at it that way. So everyone's got their own vision and opinion on the food web. So if that's something that interests you, I find it beneficial, and I will be putting one in here at one point. So if you put one of those man-made components like a heater or a filter or aquarium light on your aquarium, are you still considered a natural aquarium? Well, that's where I go back to the beginning when I talked as well, that only 99% of us really are going to be able to truly succeed at creating a completely natural aquarium. Our purpose here, our purpose in one of these natural aquariums are, like I said, trying to take a slice of nature, put it in these glass boxes, making it look natural, making it look like it came out of the earth, like it came out of a lake or river. But you want to make it as close to natural as humanly possible. That's my goals. So would adding some of them make you consider it not a natural tank? I would say no to that. Now, let's break them down. Heaters. Heaters are just essential for a lot of us, not for everybody. You know, it can be a lot of factors and variables with it as well. If you keep fish that need heat, you need a heater unless you live in an area that's warmer or you heat your room. Same thing with plants. There's some plants that really prefer warmer water. Now, I don't plan on putting a heater in this one right now, but I do live in Wisconsin, and in the winters, I may need to. The fish I plan on putting in here, which I'm not going to get into now, it's a cold water species, and I won't need a heater, but come winter time, will the fish need the heater? Probably not, but the plants might. Those crypts can be a little finicky, especially if you have drastic temperature changes. So heaters, I find them to be a necessity, an evil necessity sometimes, but it's a necessity nonetheless for most hobbyists, depending on where you live, setups and such. So what about filters? Now, filters will be the next one. I don't use filtration in any of my aquariums. Now, do I find filtration bad? Absolutely not. There are benefits to filtration. I just don't like it because it takes away space within my aquarium and makes it not look as natural. So for me, I don't like them. Yes, you can hide sponge filters in the backs of aquariums behind plants or hardscape. And I love water flow. Water flow is a very good thing for aquariums at times too, but I really like the still look and not hearing noises. Now, right now, I have a few sponge filters running in a few breeding projects I'm working on, but typically it's a very noiseless fish room down here and I don't hear anything. But canister filters, hang on the backs, there's nothing wrong with them. You can use them. They have their benefits. Do you need them? Absolutely not for this type of aquarium. You don't need them at all. Your substrate's going to take those nitrates out of the water for you. A natural looking aquarium is going to be a little bit more foggy, a little bit more litter and crud at the bottom, because that's going to look natural. But you don't have to have that. So filters, 100%, you can use them and still consider a natural aquarium, in my opinion. Now let's get to the main factor, and that is lights. Lights are very, very important for your plants to grow in order to continue this cycle. Now, if you're someone, like I said, like LRB that has these aquariums outside, or if you are able to put an aquarium within a window that gets natural sunlight, that would be very cool. I would love to try that someday, but I'm down in a basement and I have one little window that I have covered so I don't get light down here. So all the light we get are from these aquarium lights. So they're a necessity. So like I said, we're never going to be able to, like I said, 99% of us at least, be able to create a completely natural aquarium within this hobby, within these aquariums we make, because it's just not possible. We're taking parts of nature, we're taking those little slices of it, and we're putting them in here to make their own little ecosystems, but they weren't made naturally. So no, natural aquariums are not really truly attainable, but we're trying to make them to be as close to humanly possible as a natural ecosystem that we can make, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm getting at with it. So that last component we got to add to this aquarium, that's fish. Now, like I said, I plan on putting a certain cold water species of fish in here. I have to get them. I'm going to order them, or I have a fish swap coming up in the next week or so, which I'm going to look for there. But for right now, I want to put a few male guppy endlers in there in order to just kind of continue to have the cycle going of fish pooping and, so forth. So one other question I always get is, how soon do you add fish to aquarium after you set it up? This is a little side note. Well, it's been it's been about 5 minutes, 10 minutes since I set this up. That's how quick. They're going to be fine. Those plants are going to eat up any ammonia and stuff that are going to get leached into the water. So I don't have issues or concerns with that. I've done it with all my tanks and all my aquariums. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you understand now really what I consider a natural aquarium, and kind of think of yourself. What do you consider a natural aquarium? Leave it in the comments and let me know if you agree with me or you disagree with me. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and also hit that join button if you're interested in becoming a paid member to my channel. And as always, remember to think outside the box and take a step back into nature. I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.